bring in Justin Wolfers from the University of Michigan. Justin, between the job market and what we know about inflation being at its highest rate since January, what does today's rate cut say about where our economy is tracking right now?
Yeah, we could actually just listen to the Fed directly. The first sentence of their statement is actually where they bring up front what they see, and they say job gains have slowed and the unemployment rate has edged up. Inflation has moved up and remains somewhat elevated. Look, Jake, normally we get one of those bad things at a time. What we're getting is both. So they're saying both there's some economic stagnation, there's some inflation. So today the Fed made it official, where in the early days of what at this point is a mild stagflation, we don't really know what lies ahead.
You said that usually you get one of those, either unemployment or inflation, not both, and we have slight elevation on both. Is that because of the tariffs?
Yes. Hey, I just got back from teaching Economics 101, and one of the things we teach is when it's a demand shock, you get one good thing and one bad thing. When it's a supply shock, it's the two bad things. And so the fact that inflation's rising at the same time as unemployment is rising tells us it's the supply side of the economy. Tariffs are exactly that. They make it harder for Americans to do business. They're raising costs, and they're also making it harder for people to get the inputs that they need.
The only dissenter today on the board of the Fed was the newest Fed governor, Stephen Miron, President Trump's chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors until he was sworn in yesterday. He favored a much larger rate cut. Is there anything we can infer from his vote about Trump's pressure campaign on the Fed and if it will continue?
Yeah, I actually think this is very worrying. I want to be clear to your viewers, not everyone shares my reading of this. But the concern coming in is that Moran, who is on leave from inside the White House, and so hopes to return to Trump's employ any day now, the concern was that he'd be carrying water for the White House. In his very first meeting, without enough time to have been properly briefed, he alone dissented from everyone else. That's a statement. It's a signal. What's the signal? Look, I don't know, but I do know if you wanted to signal, I am the White House's boy, this is the signal you'd send.
With Moran installed at the Fed and Trump's rage against the entire institution, obviously worries continue to swirl about the Fed's independence. And Jerome Powell, the chair, answered a question about whether the public will be able to tell if the Fed's independence has been compromised. Take a listen to what he said.
Part of Washington, everything is seen through the lens of, does it help or hurt this political party, this politician? You know, that's the framework. And I think people find it hard to believe that that is not at all the way we think about things at the Fed. We're taking a longer perspective. We're trying to, serve the American people as best we can. So I think you would be able to tell. I don't believe we'll ever get to that place.
Did what the chairman had to say assuage any concerns you might have about the Fed's independence?
Yeah, and I can add one more, which is I happen to be friends with about half the governors. If they felt they were under pressure that was improper, they'd be leaking like sieves. They'd be calling me and I'd be calling you, Jake. So there's a lot of pressure for sure, but right now it's all out there and in public, I think.
All right, Justin Wolfers, professor, thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate it.